This is LARICY Live, and I'm your host, Matt LARICY. We're giving you unfiltered access to the world of real estate. We cover the market trends, news, and give you honest answers to keep you ahead of the real estate game. LARICY Live is brought to you by Lincoln Title. Lincoln Title is the best and most efficient title company in Chicago and the best place to close your property. LARICY Live is also brought to you by Guaranteed Rate and Ben Cohen. Ben is #1 in Illinois and can close your loan in as fast as 8 days.
So today we are discussing if you are buying or not buying an idea. In the spirit of buy and sell, which is what real estate is obviously all about, we thought it'd be a little fun to kind of mix things up and talk about kind of where we think things are going to head for the rest of the year. We're about halfway through the year, which is why we're kind of doing this idea. And we've brought on a few of the LARICY team members. Mr. Matt Piegza is here. We call him Piegza. And we have Gretchen. I mean, which last name are we going by these days?
Today's Barbaro.
Today's Barbaro. Okay.
Wow.
So we have, and Gretchen sets up all of our buyers tours amongst many other things, soon to be with Jamie going on maternity leave here. So
Assistant transaction coordinator.
yeah, marketing sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Graphic design.
Arts and crafts.
Arts and,
That's right.
arts and crafts. So we what we did, guys, we made these paddles. Is there actually paddles back here? This is this is a ruler.
It's a ruler. It is poster board. I've got my industrial strength glue sticks that I had to pull out of my arts and crafts box.
This is intense.
Wow.
This
I
is
went to FedEx yesterday.
This is a
So-
24-hour turnaround.
Yeah.
Man. This would take
this
me
is-
a year.
Gretchen rushed out to get these things done. So kudos, just so you guys can see these. But as you can see, it says buying or not buying. So I'm going to ask a question and see if they're going to be buying or not buying it, and then we're going to discuss it. So to kick things off, do we think rates will go down this year? Are you buying that idea or not buying that idea? Rates
Buying.
going down. You're not buying it. You are buying it. Why are you not buying it
I mean, you're saying in this calendar year?
in this calendar?
I just don't see that there's any reason that they're going to use something like that to, to make a move in the fall market. It just doesn't make much sense. I think it'll be sometime if they're going to do it, January, Super Bowl, historically speaking, next spring, give everybody a oomph. I don't think it does you any good around the holidays. Now, if it was an election year, it's a little different.
We are heading into election year. But Gretchen, what do we think? You put buying. Why do you think buying?
It's kind of just wishful thinking. I'm
Okay.
really hoping that they go down at least a little bit. So
Okay. Me personally, I am buying that rates will be going down. We are heading into an election year, and I think as we go into the year, the party that's currently in charge is going to try to decrease them to start off the year fresh with a hot housing market to give the other party less leverage in the soon-to-be kind of discussions of why they should be or should not be in office. So I think I'm buying an idea that we're going to be 5.5% or lower.
So you think, but my point is, you think it'll happen before Christmas?
I think we're going to have a very strong Q4. I think they're going to do it.
My thought was, okay.
I think they want the momentum going into next year.
My thought was it'll be like a January.
Hey, listen, we're guessing here.
Hey, that's why we're here.
If we could predict the future, we
why
wouldn't be
we're
selling
here.
real estate. We'd be sitting on yachts, sipping on champagne.
I agree.
Okay, next one we're buying. Prices will drop this fall. Are you buying or not buying? You're buying that idea? Both buying that idea. So why do we think this, guys? Why do you guys think the price is going to drop?
higher inventory, or inventory has been sticking.
There you go. Yeah.
So
So
people be
price
making
will go
price
down.
drops.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yourself?
Because rates aren't going to go down.
Okay. So I'm buying that prices will fall, drop in the fall, and that's solely because, historically speaking, the back half of the year is always slower.
Right.
As Gretchen mentioned, that inventory sticks for longer, and demand we usually do with about a quarter of the demand for the back 4 months of the year than we do in the first 4 months of the year. So if you got a quarter of the demand, you have more inventory, prices are naturally going to come down. We also have that world is ending mentality. There's going to be a lot of people talking about that the election year is going to crush the market. It's not going to be, but people always feed on fear in the back 4 months.
There's also all those holidays that start to creep up on people in school.
Correct.
Everybody's back in school. It's like
Yep.
put everything on the back burner. Everything that's left might be left over.
Okay. Here's one for the rest of the year. Now remember, we only got a few months left.
Okay.
AI is going to take over the world. before the year is over?
Not a chance.
I'm not buying.
You're not buying? I'm also not going to be buying this idea, but they are selling this on many TV things, shows. And if you watch any of the mainstream media, they're talking about how be prepared for your life to be changed in 2024 because of AI. Why are you guys not buying this idea? Gretchen?
I mean, I don't think AI is going to take over real estate anytime soon. However, I did watch a video yesterday that showed a deep fake of Britney Spears, and I think that kind of stuff.
What do you mean deep fake?
So a deep fake is where they take a composite of someone's image in video form and they make it look like Matt LARICY is saying these things and he's on the screen. But if you slow it down and pause at certain points, you're like, that's not Matt LARICY. Kind of like the AI headshots that we did.
I always go back to the photos we got where literally we got the worst photos I've ever seen by submitting actual photos of ourselves. And then we had to go back through a person, and that person would say, okay, well, we're going to put it back through the AI system and make corrections. So they put it back in the computer to make corrections. Turned out worse than it was at the beginning. And then it was a 6-week turnaround?
It was a long time.
And I'm like, what the hell's going on? These guys would have had it done if we needed it that day.
Well, we asked them. They just didn't do it.
You were like, can you make my teeth not gray?
Well, I mean, I was like,
I do.
You do have great teeth, though.
Well, I was like, I literally had to write an email to an AI. I don't know if it was a computer. And I was like, I have teeth.
Yeah,
these are not them.
Yeah. He first came back, and then Jamie came back with 3 arms.
It was insane.
Yeah, but everybody kind of looked like a movie star. They just took your face, they kind of looked like this movie star. You were like, who's that girl from Gwyneth Paltrow?
I mean, Gretchen should be biased,
Kidman
though.
Yeah, Gretchen's photos came back. I was like, damn.
I had
I'm buying it.
Yeah, you're like, I'll take these photos.
I had gray teeth, and Gretchen looked like a rock star.
Yeah,
I was
no
wonder. She's like, I think they're good.
Yeah, she's like, I love this shit. She's like, let's get these every time. I'm like, yeah, of course.
So that's the reason, though. I don't think it's anything quick is going to happen with that.
Are you buying or not buying that inventory will grow this fall? Meaning that we'll have more inventory this fall. You're not buying.
No.
I think both.
You gotta choose.
I was gonna say
you gotta choose one, guys.
Okay, all right. Well, I'll tell you why I'm on the fence, but I'm gonna say not buy. I think there's gonna be a lot that's gonna get pulled.
Okay.
And I take that from my own, certain listings or whatever. Buyers pulling back, but also people that have been on the market. You're gonna have a lot more people just say, let's give it a rest. Let's take it off the market.
Gretchen?
So for that reason, I think it'll.
Dots?
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be a ton of new inventory hitting the market. I don't think. There's some of it is going to move, but I think there's going to be a lot of inventory sticking.
I'm going to be buying the idea that inventory will grow. It grows every fall solely because the existing inventory sticks on the market, and we are in a big city. We're not in the suburbs where people don't have to move. We're going to see a lot more inventory, specifically in that $200,000 to $750,000 range that we haven't had any of. Stick more because there'll be a quarter man. That's my thoughts.
But they're not adding any new properties.
There's people will still sell.
People don't sell, but you don't think what's the percentage of listings that we take down from, let's say, Turkey Day till the end of the year?
So from October till December, the end of the year, I try to pull probably any old inventory I had that's not selling. But that's me. Not everybody thinks like that.
Right.
And think about this is that if you got a $250,000 place, and you just got transferred to New York, you're going to sell. And inventory, statistically speaking, is still lower. It's at the lowest point pretty much that I've seen in 5+ years in the outskirts. So I'm telling you, we'll see. Listen, these are just educated guesses here.
Well, it sounds like you're basing this off. He has facts there that he's using, and
it's just historical brain data.
Right. But I'm saying I think agree to disagree.
He's got so much more time in his day than we do.
He's saying he's pulling 40% of the inventory of his off, but somehow it's increasing. It just doesn't make sense.
Holiday season will be dead this year. Are you buying or selling that? Or buying or not buying that? You're not buying.
Wait. Say it again.
Holiday season will be dead this year.
Oh, absolutely, buying it.
You're buying. Okay,
yeah.
You're buying. You're not buying. Why are you not buying, Gretchen?
So historically, holiday season is dead. However, if this year is any or this summer is any indication of how our fall and winter are going to be, it's just going to be not as dead as last year.
Okay. You?
I mean, I always base my expectations of the market on when LARICY's out of town. I believe he's going to be out of town around Christmas.
Okay.
So I think that's a good indication.
Well, okay, so on the holidays, yes, it's going to be dead.
Holiday season we're talking about. I'm not.
Yeah, I think once listen, it's once especially now having kids, it's like once like Christmas and Thanksgiving come around, what are you doing? You're not buying?
I'm not buying it.
You think it's going to be busy?
I think it is. I think because the rate's going to drop this fall. I think a lot of people want to get a leg up on the election year market. I think the stock market's going to be extremely volatile towards the end of the year. I also think that I've been preaching that this year is going to be more of a year of consistency. So last 2 months of last year, we were like dead. Like we didn't know what to do. We were like
really bad.
People were in here like throwing the football around. Like we didn't know. It was like lockdown dead. Right. So that's dead. I just don't think it'll be that dead. That's just my thoughts.
Okay.
Bears going to be moving to the suburbs. You buying or not buying that? Do you think the Bears are going to stick around? Do you think the Bears are going to go to Arlington? You're not buying. Why are you not buying?
I think in the next 5 years they're not going to be making any moves because it's just too back and forth, and
I think they have
they
a
can't
lease
make a
through a
decision.
certain year.
They just closed on that Arlington property. They bulldozed
does
it.
anybody know the year that
It's 2030 something.
That the
they
Bears
got like 4 or 5 months.
They have a contract with Soldier
Yeah, but they
Field.
could pay to break it.
They can. I'm buying it. I think it's. I think that they can do more. They're renting a stadium. They could build their own. They could host Super Bowls. They can make a lot more money than just on the Bears games. You only get 8 games a year.
Yeah,
that's the crazy thing.
Yeah,
and I think 8 games, people forget that's not a lot. So if you're able to build your own stadium, get your own revenue going outside of the Bears, I think that's what they're going to do.
So you think it's going to be Arlington Heights?
I do. I mean, I drove by it a couple of weeks ago when I had a deal out there, and they were knocking the place down. So they're I know
they're ready.
Yeah, it's going to happen.
I'm not buying.
This guy's everything I say is
this is wishful thinking. I actually think I think everything that you said is correct. This is probably the only time you ever heard me say that. But I think a tiny part of me is thinking the Bears
come through in the
Soldier Field is historic. Chicago's an historic city. We're a blue collar city. We are a grinding city. There's a lot of history that happened. The part of the war was saved because of Soldier Field, where they raised the bonds to raise money for the thing. I just think there's a lot of history there.
I agree. I don't think they're going to get rid of Soldier Field. That's the
I know,
thing.
but I'm just saying that I feel like we need somebody to come pitch the Bears.
Soldier Field is an absolute fucking nightmare.
It is
to go.
I
it
hate
is so
Soldier
bad.
Field.
It is so bad. It is on the worst. You ever been to a Bears
the
game?
best
It's
way to get to
worst
Soldier
thing
Field
ever.
is by bicycle.
Yeah. I mean, it's like you get an Uber. You're like, where are you? They're like Buckingham Fountain. You're like, what? And
You
it's
can't
like,
even exit the building without ending up in some kind of courtyard.
We went to a concert 2 weeks ago, my wife and I, and we had a guy that we had picking us up with our friends, and we were at Northerly Island or whatever it is. I don't know what's that called now. Doesn't matter.
I think
we're Soldier Field, and we had a driver that was waiting for us, and we couldn't leave because we just sat in the car for an hour. I think it's time.
We'll see.
It's
Listen,
horrible.
I'm not denying that it's the
There's
stadium
no way to
doesn't
get
suck.
there.
I'm a history guy. I like it. All right, Bally's Casino will increase the River North property values. You're not buying it. You are buying it. Why are we buying this idea?
I just think that there's been a lot of pessimism about the casino, and
for the record, Gretchen hung out at casinos for a big portion of her life.
I was married to a professional poker player, so I spent a lot of time in Vegas. The mock-ups, the prototypes of the casino make it look like a very beautiful building and a beautiful environment around there. And I understand that as River North residents and people that work in the neighborhood,
including yourself.
Yeah, I work here.
Yeah.
We have this maybe perhaps negative idea of the casino.
Yeah.
But think of all the out-of-towners who don't know what River North was, don't know.
I get it. So you're looking at it from a glass half full, and Matt Piegza was looking at it, I'm assuming, from a glass half empty.
I think it's gonna be bad. There's ways to do it right. You add some nice restaurants. You do certain things, but if you've ever been to a casino at 3 a.m,
okay, think about it. Think about it this way.
That's what you'll get a lot of.
How many people do you know from other states who are like, all right, I'm moving to Chicago. I'm going to go right by Wrigley Field.
Yeah.
And they get an apartment right by Wrigley Field, and then they're like, what did I get myself into? Because you realize that there's people stumbling around drunk at 3 o'clock in the morning.
So you think people are going to
whatever.
think that, but want to be by...
Yeah, I mean, they'll still buy the properties. They'll still
Okay.
buy them to rent them out.
I'm buying that it's going to increase the values.
There we go.
The reason I am is solely because it is now completely going to be, it's not technically in River North. It's technically going to be in River West. So everything is west of the river. They have got 4,000 luxury rental apartments that are going to be surrounding it. And right now that area is, honestly, it's a shithole. It's a bus station.
Yeah.
It's a homeless shelter. It's just like a lot of just like bad activity over there. And like, I agree with you that like a casino's not going to, like I don't think about 3 o'clock in the morning, because I think 3 o'clock in the morning going to be a lot of like people who do really well in life. They're just idiot drunks. Like, think about this. You got buddies in from out of town. It's 3 a.m. You're like, let's go to the casino. You know, like you're 25. Like people are going to be doing that. What I'm more nervous about is like 2 o'clock on a Tuesday. You know, like that crowd. Like, who at 2 o'clock on a Tuesday is going to like the casino?
With their oxygen tank.
I'm not even worried about them. I'm worried about like, you know, like other people who
Right,
you know. So like, but I still think that right now it's nothing. So if it's done right, which means that we're placing trust in the Chicago system, and they surround with rentals, and they get more retail in there, and then that develops it more. Instead of just being like a wasteland like it is right now, maybe it could be something better. And if that's better over there, that'll be like, hey, you're close to it. You're not there, but like at least you got like other shit going on. And the whole point of the city is like being by things that matter.
Yep.
We'll see what the temporary casino that's up right now in the heart of the city. We'll see how it works out.
Yeah, Medina, or what's
What's
Yeah.
going on with the total off topic? Do you know what's going on with the project up on like Sterling Bay, up on like
Lincoln Yards.
Lincoln Yards?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of talk on that, but we'll get to that topic another time.
Are you buying that'll ever happen?
Throwing that at
That's
me.
a big development.
I am buying that Lincoln Yards will happen. There's so much money and so much time that's been spent on it.
It's
I don't know if it'll happen.
been 10
next
years, though. It's
year,
just been
but
vacant.
yeah, it'll definitely happen. Are you buying or not buying that Matt Larricy was a better hockey player than Matt Piegza?
Oh.
I mean, if you say buying that, you say buying that.
I think Matt Larricy can punch a punching bag, but I don't know about like his skills on the ice.
I was a great hockey player.
Let's see what he says.
Okay, so I'm not buying that I was a better hockey player than Matt, but I will tell you that when we played together, there was a lot of times where I scored more points, because here's what happened. Matt is a very good player, and he tries to do all these great moves, and ultimately the puck would hit the guy, you know, the goaltender, and it would drop, and I would just be right there and put it in. And at the end of the day, you can have the greatest skills in the world, but if it's not going in the net, it doesn't count as a point.
So you like you position yourself.
I would consider myself more of a grinder hockey. I'm always in the right place at the right time.
You're an opportunist.
Matt P is a far superior all-around player than me.
Athlete.
But not an athlete. Not an athlete. But me and Matt know each other from playing hockey. That's how we actually know each other. So I was a far superior skater on the ice, and you know.
Are you still playing?
After I broke my rib, I kind of gave up on it.
So now it wouldn't even be.
I haven't played in 10 years.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, I'm playing tonight.
All right. Chicago realtors will start hiring drivers on the regular. Are you buying or not buying? This has become like an article in a lot of big publications like Real Deal, Cranes, and some other places that like drivers are like the new thing for realtors. So are you buying or not buying that?
Hold on. Can you go first on one?
Yeah.
Let's hear. I want to hear.
I'm not buying that. I think, you know, this whole driver thing, I think it looks cool on these TV shows. I think for certain brokers that are in New York that are doing $1 billion a year,
Yeah, it makes
and they
sense.
want to cut $100,000 salary. That's what it's like, $100,000 between the gas, the car. You know, they probably got to throw them some sort of 401k.
Yeah.
It makes sense because cabs and just getting around the city there is impossible. But we're in Chicago. I mean, it's tough to get around,
yeah.
but like it's not like impossible.
What I was gonna say is no chance, because it's Chicago's. I can go from Bucktown to South Loop in 15 minutes on a good day. I mean, if I had a driver, I'd be like, this is stupid.
I think the biggest reason would be the parking tickets, because
Yeah.
someone on our team just got a boot from unpaid parking tickets.
The Jet just got a boot.
Right, but that's my point. Is like I don't even think that the cost would outweigh.
It doesn't.
Not in Chicago.
Not here. I mean,
You know what people do now is they're getting Uber Black drivers,
and that's what I thought you were gonna go.
And like, listen, and it's just people trying to impress their clients. And listen, I'm not knocking it. Like, listen, it's not a bad idea. Like, you know, you don't really know the person well. You get a driver, you look really cool, but ultimately, like long term, full time, we're talking full time driver. It makes no sense.
I will say where I could see it happening is like if your market was, or you had a tour that's like, you know, middle of July, and it's let's say Gold Coast into Streeterville,
Yeah.
and like you're on Michigan Avenue,
Yeah.
you know, Then maybe it's like you rent a Uber guy. It costs you $200. He's with
But
you
still,
for a
like,
couple hours.
you ever notice when people do that, like you're like done, like because realtors, we always stay up in the unit and like get the lights and let them kind of go down. It's like the unwritten rule, like you never ride the elevator down with the other people. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of
Right,
awkward.
You're like, "Bye, I'm
So
gonna
like
stay here."
you get done and like you go out there and they're like still waiting. They're like, oh, he's like 10 minutes away.
Right.
It's
Or
like
you get
you're
a
gonna
car,
walk to our
though.
car by now.
I'm saying
Yeah.
you got a car though for like two whatever the cost is.
Yeah, it's a
and
couple
they're
$100.
just with you for.
Yeah, but they can't just like sit on Michigan Avenue if you're on Michigan Avenue.
I mean,
They
yeah.
got to circle.
And then they
back.
got to circle.
But it is.
It's like going to the airport.
The other side of the coin is also horrible when you're like, well, there it is, and now you're next to Water Tower, and you're like,
I drive.
I'm saying you're driving, and
Yeah.
you're like, where do I go?
Oh, I just throw it. I illegally park everywhere.
So
I didn't
do
even care.
but I've
Do you
also
let your
come
buyers out and go, I'll meet you at the door?
No, I'll be like, it's here, and they'll be like, do you really want to park in front of this fire hydrant? I know somebody's gonna be slack, like you shouldn't. I'll be like, yep. And I'll
No,
be
but
like,
over
and I'll
there,
take.
especially like by Michigan Avenue is like the one place where you may come back to no car.
Yeah,
Like, like they're like, you
Yeah.
can't just do this
Yeah.
on
I agree.
Delaware and whatever. Like,
I agree.
It's different if you're in Bucktown. It's like you can park in an intersection. I'm confident where Gretchen and I are.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, I don't know, they probably are filming something.
Yeah,
or whatever.
I agree. What
Hang a
about?
safety vest on the door?
Right, exactly.
I mean, actually, we should get those to see this.
That would be
Like a
great.
realtor
I thought
vest.
John
Or a
Paul-
menu,
I thought
uh,
John Paul had something at one point.
A restaurant menu. You stick that like as a.
The loop will eventually come back. Are you buying or not buying? You're not buying.
I don't think the loop was ever. It's not about coming back. I just don't. I used to work in the loop, and the problem I have with the loop is just Starbucks is closed on the weekends at a certain time. Restaurants aren't open.
Yeah, grocery
it's
stores.
Even when it's thriving as a business district, it only survives during the business hours.
Okay.
Like, restaurants can't afford to stay open because no one goes.
There's
to
not as
them.
many people
yeah,
that are
there's
living.
not as many people. You
What
get
do you think?
tourism, but not as much.
I'm also not buying it in terms of like stores. There's just, you can't chase shoplifters out. So stores are being wiped of their inventory and then they're not renewing their leases. Like it's,
So you think crime's just gonna be the thing of
I think
the
so.
future?
For sure.
Okay. I'm buying that the loop's going to come back.
All right.
I think so. Pre-pandemic, there was a huge revitalization of people wanting to live in the heart of the city, in the financial district specifically, which is why all those new rental buildings went up in the heart of the city. Like what's that one called? Block 737 or something like that. And they were building up all this stuff, and they're revitalizing State Street on the south end, and they were bringing in more restaurants, and that was the big thing that they were talking about. And then there was this thing called WeWork. You guys remember WeWork?
I was just
that
at a
everybody
WeWork.
was co-working, and co-working was the cool thing now because nobody wanted to stay at home. And then the pandemic happened, and the media taught us that we don't want to be around people, and we like to be trapped alone, and we don't want to be around anything else, and blah blah blah. And I'm a huge history person, and humans have been on the planet for thousands of years. And I think because of 2.5 years that our DNA did not change. And I do think that people like to be around people. I think one of the reasons why people have been lashing out so much is because we've been like trapped. And even, what was it? Yesterday I had a tour with Emilio in the Loop, and I've never seen more people in the Loop in my life. And I was loving it. Like I got out of the car. I'm like, first off, I couldn't find a parking space. And when I finally got one, I got out of my car. I'm like, this is awesome. This is just how many people were
I will
down
say
there.
my kids' daycare is in the Loop now, and when I do go there 6 months ago, it was a ghost town.
Right.
And now you see people when I'm after
That was also the dead of winter. And right now we're in like,
well, now
the
I
thick
see
of
people
summer.
on Madison. I'm like, oh wow, a lot of people are getting off.
We're currently at 52% of people back to work. Okay, so imagine when it's 100%. Also imagine when, and this is going to happen, that when people start giving two salaries, that you get one salary if you want to work from home, there's another salary if you work from the office. So the more people that start working from the office again, and then people start forgetting about traffic. Once you got 75, you think traffic's bad now from 4 to 6? Wait till people are 100% back to work. And you can't get anywhere.
Well, the big problem right now is this construction. It's just bananas.
Well, it's construction and crime.
I mean, the whole highway thing is just outrageous. To get to like Bucktown from here even at 5 o'clock is 45 minutes.
Yeah.
It's not normal.
It's 17 minutes on bike.
Okay.
And there's a 30% chance you die.
We will see an increase in defaulted loans. Are you buying or not buying? This has been a big topic lately, is that we're going to see more foreclosures pick up. So do you think we're going to see that or not see that by the end of the year? Buying or not buying? I'll go first. I'm not buying it. I do think that there's a lot of people who got loans for more than what they should have qualified for. And I will be buying this idea 24 months from now. But in the immediate future, just remember, guys, like it's pretty much like 6 months. You kind of got to like default on it before like the foreclosure process really starts and all goes into it. So if we're talking just by the end of the year, I am not buying it. But if we're talking 2 years from now, I will be buying that. We will see an increase in foreclosures.
I mean, I think overall, like you said, like you kind of took both sides of it. But I say overall in the long term, you will, because people were getting paid an astronomical amount of money,
especially in the tech world.
Yeah, and now it's like, you know, and people made like all this weird money in Bitcoin and shit, and they thought that would just never end, and all this. So I don't know, maybe people, you know,
I do think a lot of people have been overextending themselves over the last couple of years. I mean, I was out to a dinner last night, and one of the things we were talking about was how, like, if you remember, like 10 years ago, if somebody went to Europe, that was like a bragging point, right? Like, if you're like, I'm going to Europe, you're like, everyone's like, damn, you're like, you know, they're doing really well. And like, well, why? Like, they went to Europe for a week, and you're like, shit, they went to Paris for a week. Like, wow. Now it's like, people are making like 50 grand. They're flying first class. They're saying like these like, you know, $2,000 hotels. You're like, what am I doing wrong? Like, I'm not, you know, like I gotta like really save to do something like that. So, I think a lot of people have just, actually the dinner last night I had was we were talking a lot about how much people have in their savings account for when they get these loans, and it's, you know, it's almost, he said 95% of loans he does, it's people are like have the down payment and then like maybe 3 months of reserves, and that's it.
Oh yeah.
So if they lose their jobs as we head into a worse economy, like, you know, they're not gonna have any money. So
I agree. Yeah.
Okay.
I wish I was at that dinner.
Going off that, this is another big topic: is bad Airbnb investments will hit the market. Are you buying or not buying that? I'm going to go first to start this off. I am not buying that idea today. I am buying that idea in the next 12 months. Specifically not in our markets because we are not a big Airbnb place, but Florida, Arizona, California, a lot of these places, Idaho, where people were buying these Airbnbs and making all this money as travel reduces of people being able to work wherever they want. I think the Airbnb market's going to go down.
I'm not buying. Wait, is it that they'll go down? I'm buying it. They'll be in trouble. I just don't think in Chicago, especially, I know that was a big thing. I would get like 10 phone calls a month where it's like, I want an Airbnb, and it's like, oh, you do? Like, well, that's not really a thing. And it's like, well, I saw somebody Airbnb a place in River North. It's like, yeah, that's a renter renting their place out when they go out of town, illegally. Right. And if you want an Airbnb, realistically, if you want an Airbnb in Chicago and you think you're gonna like, you know, rent it out consecutive weeks, you know, you have to buy a $1.2 million place.
Yeah, multi-unit and then get the license.
Yeah, and you know, then the hotel. There's a lot going on. So I just think it seemed like a great, easy thing that everybody tried to do, but I think it costs a lot more than people think.
Yeah. What about you, Gretchen?
Have you guys ever stayed in an Airbnb?
I actually have not.
I have.
So I've stayed at Airbnbs and I've shopped for Airbnbs. And in other cities, it's a huge thing, and people buy investment properties specifically to become Airbnbs, and then they curate and they decorate the place with like cool vintage stuff, and these are specific Airbnb properties, and they have a whole system, and the housekeeping is a whole new industry of Airbnb housekeeping and turnover and stuff. And I think that's as travel decreases, there's going to be these investments that come on in the market. Then.
Do you have any weird Airbnbs that you ever stayed at?
Oh gosh, I stayed at like.
Did you do like shared rooms? I feel like you've done like.
I've done the shared room before.
Hey, what's up?
Well, Jessica stayed at one, and she stayed in somebody's room, and there was like the people's dog slept in the bed with her.
That's weird.
And then she like got up and like went to the bathroom, and, like the people were in the kitchen, yeah.
That's.
Have you done one of those?
I stayed in a place in Boston with my sister, and the guy, it was like an illegal Airbnb. He was like, oh, just make sure if someone sees you, you pretend like you aren't staying there.
Right,
and then, like, you know, we roll our suitcases in, and it's like a dorm room, essentially.
It's like put nine shirts on and walk in.
Hey, what's so bad about hotels? I don't get
I mean, that's what I think is like the other thing.
Was it that much cheaper than a hotel room?
It was,
I will say, like, if you're going to, like Gretchen said, if you're going to Michigan, like we've rented houses with like multiple people, it's like a no-brainer because like, you know, you have a pool or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, and do these look like Airbnbs, or do they look like someone's vacation house that they decided to put on the market as an Airbnb?
I mean, both. Like they look like maybe like they always have like a couple locked cabinets and doors. It's like that's their shit.
Right, but I'm saying like we just don't have that type of market for that.
Yeah,
type
not in
of stuff.
Chicago.
Okay. Are you buying or not buying the new portfolio rate guidelines will ruin the luxury market? Do we know what the new portfolio rate
Why don't we
guidelines?
start
So
with
I
a
wrote about this on
definition.
our Monday update.
Go ahead. Somebody tell me what that
Do
means.
you remember what it is?
So the banks are getting stricter.
Yeah. So portfolio loans are like jumbo loans. Okay, for let's call them actually jumbo loans. What the right terminology is going to be. Have to hold at least 6 times as much money. I think it's 6 times. I might be wrong. Some lenders going to comment and be like it's 3 times. Whatever it is, they have to hold extra money in the bank for every loan they do, and in order for them to do so, it's going to increase the risk of them giving these out. So it's pushing the rates up. So like generally speaking, like jumbo's been like that 5.5 to 6 point something rate. Now they're going up to 7 to 8%. Which means anybody that's buying a higher end place is going to be getting at least 1% higher for the rest of the year, supposedly, because it's a federal guideline, which would probably affect the luxury market, you would think. So are you buying or not buying that you think that that's going to make the luxury market worse?
Okay. I'm not buying it.
Okay. So you think the extra 1 to 1.5% rate won't?
I don't. I think that when you're talking about luxury markets, I think maybe if it's like something that's right on the cusp, but the higher you get in price point, I feel like the less it matters.
What are we at, like 18 months of inventory in the luxury market?
A little over 17 months of inventory in the luxury market in the downtown markets, but in the outskirts, it's like 1.
Can it get worse?
Yeah, I'm actually not going to buy that. I think it's going to have a huge effect. I agree with Matt Piegza in the fact that like I think it's going to be annoyance, and I think people are just like we're just going to refi. Right, but a lot of lenders are using a lot of scare tactics that the market's going to plummet because of it. And maybe they're right. Who knows? I mean, I don't know. Will Matt Piegza finish with the most days off? Are you buying or not buying that? We count days off here, guys.
So standings right now.
What am I at? No, don't even say the number.
Yeah.
I'm going to buy it.
Yeah, I mean
I look at
he's pretty.
I look at my forecasts. Next month, I'm gonna go further.
I'm also buying this. Matt has won the trophy.
I've run away with it this year.
Actually, Catherine got married, went on a honeymoon, and
Catherine's
she's
always
still
up there, too.
behind you.
She's actually substantially behind him this year.
Well,
yeah.
It is what it is. I will say this: if I'm not working, I'm networking. So I'm not really that worried about it.
Matt does have big.
The way that he picks up buyers, he'll be like, "Oh yeah, and I met this guy over at Lottie's."
There's also those are.
I will say I've never met anybody that's got a bigger horseshoe up his ass than Matt. Like he'll be off for a few days and be like, yeah, I don't know, I was dropping off the kids and like this guy. He's buying like a $4 million place.
Well, no,
they went to the open house.
I also think we have different. This could be another podcast, but I also think that if you're not present in the people's lives that are going to be purchasing or selling, then they may use somebody else. And I think that that's a big part of.
There's a lot of
business.
really huge agents that have the same theory that you have, and they do extremely well. So there's a lot.
There's
of
different sides to it. Now I think could there be a hybrid of that? Yeah, probably.
So, last one here. Do you think the LARICY team will finish number 1 by the end of 2023?
For the full year.
For the full year.
In transactions or volume?
Both. Transactions should be pretty hard to beat us at this point.
Not buying it.
You're not buying.
I have to say buying because if I don't want to curse it.
So you're buying the idea that we will finish number 1.
Correct.
And you're not buying the idea.
Correct.
Okay, I'm gonna go with buying because I'm a winner, and I think we're gonna win. Although currently, I don't even know if we're 1 or 2 right now, but I think if we have a slow or a very steady end of the year, we'll finish number 1 in all 4 categories. It just depends on how we perform in the fourth quarter. The guy that beats us, he crushes it on price point in that fourth quarter. Mm-hmm. So we're going to need to make up for it in transactions.
That's what I was going to say is if it even came to me, is just like I think that it's hard when you all of a sudden you get a $6 million deal and it's like, oh man, didn't see that. That's where it comes down to. We actually have. I mean, we're being honest. We have 0 $6 million deals this year. Right, and then
I don't have any prospects.
And then when you're in a tight race like that, let's say, it's like it's tough.
I think that the thing is that we have is that we do a lot. In fact, we're always in the top 3 or 4 for $1 million plus sales in the city. Okay, but I think we do so many transactions. We also do a shit ton of like 200,000 transactions.
Right.
So I like to have a diverse portfolio, but it's kind of like when I compare it to like baseball, right? Like we might be consistently on base, but like somebody else gets up to bat and they got the bases loaded and they hit a home run.
It's like all of a sudden
they just got 4 runs.
$14 million place in Lincoln Park, and you're like, what the hell was that?
Yeah,
you know? And that's like
that's
a lot
like-
of $250,000
Yeah,
deals.
that's half our month.
That's my-
you know. So, but we'll see. I mean, listen, we haven't taken.
I will say this, not to cut you off, but we've been doing this. I'm not buying it, but in the next 12 months, I'm buying it.
Okay. So
2024 will be number one?
I think so.
Okay. All right. Well, that's the end of our we'll call it a game here of buying or not buying. I got to say, like these
are well done. Save
these were really well
Save
done.
These for sure.
This arts and crafts thing, maybe we'll save these. We could do this again.
Yeah,
in the
sounds
future.
good.
I also like that you actually even got the right color for this.
I went into our design hub and pulled the color code.
Wow, she went all out on this. So
It's really well done.
all right. Well, thanks for listening to Literacy Live.